Carlos Ulberg and Dominick Reyes face off in the main event of UFC Perth, what could very well be a fight to determine the next challenger for the light heavyweight championship. Soon to be disputed in a rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Poatan Pereira. Israel Adesanya's City Kickboxing teammate Carlos Ulberg, a former pro kickboxer, entered the UFC with reasonable hype but still raw at 4-0, and had a disastrous debut against Kennedy Nzechukwu. Despite showing technical superiority, the Australian tired out and was finishing round 2 via strikes. Since then, Ulberg has turned things around and is now riding an 8-fight winning streak, surpassed only by champion Ankalaev's 9-fight streak in the light heavyweight division. With 5 finishes and wins over former title contender Volkan Oezdemir and former champion Jan Blachowicz, it is very likely that a victory in front of his Aussie crowd would position him to contend for the 205 strap. On his part, Dominick Reyes, a former collegiate football player turned MMA fighter, had a meteoric rise through the rankings, only to be on the wrong end of one of MMA's worst decisions when he was denied the title against Jon Jones. Things went downhill for the American after that. With 3 consecutive stoppage losses, Reyes found himself 0-4 in his last 4, and the MMA community was left wondering what happened to the man who pushed the divisional GOAT Bones to the limit. But just when everyone had written Reyes off, he came back with a knockout against former pro kickboxer Dustin Jacoby. Then another one, and another one, stringing together 3 straight TKOs in one of the most memorable resurgences in recent memory. Now they battle one another. Both strikers by trade and backed by speed, size, and athleticism. Ulberg and Reyes have different styles and approaches. Ulberg, an orthodox fighter, like many of his City Kickboxing teammates, fights safely behind his lead shoulder and rear hip feints. He's a patient striker with clean mechanics and solid fundamental footwork. Reyes, on the other hand, is a southpaw who thrives on double attacks, looking to get an angle on his opponents before making them guess which weapon is coming from the rear side. Mixing the straight left with the uppercut, the rear body kick, and the high kick, one false red and Reyes can put his opponents out. But despite these differences, they share one important trait. Both Ulberg and Reyes are excellent at convincing opponents to close the distance before finishing them with the left hand. For Ulberg, it is mostly his lead left hook. For Reyes, it is primarily his straight left. But the principle is very similar, and it exploits the MMA meta in a way that continues to work. Why is the left hand against an incoming opponent so effective? Despite different applications, there are some common factors. First, most MMA fighters fight from an orthodox stance. This means they stand with their left foot in front, keeping their most skilled hand, the right, in the rear as the power hand. In an orthodox stance, the left side is the closed side. Depending on how bladed the stance is, a fighter is protected by their lead shoulder to varying degrees. At the very least, they are partially protected from strikes coming from the opponent's right side. While body kicks to that side are more likely to land on the muscles of the back rather than the organs at the front of the torso. This makes the right side the open side. You can clearly see this in an open stance matchup between an orthodox and a southpaw fighter, where there's a direct path for the rear straight and body kicks. Second, over the years, MMA has developed a meta where the standard distance between fighters is greater than in other combat sports. The threat of takedowns and kicks has made it common for MMA bouts to play out just outside striking range. Even when fighters want to close the distance, the sheer number of potential offensive threats has made backing straight out a frequent defensive reaction, a one-size-fits-all answer when you don't know what's coming. These two factors, combined with a still prevalent tendency for fighters to lack a nuanced lead hand or reliable ways to close the distance, often lead to compromised entries. This is most commonly seen in the form of blitzes or stance shifts. There are levels to this. Some fighters like Dustin Poirier and TJ Dillashaw have made thoughtful stance switches moving forward work at the highest level. But the simple reality is that crossing your feet breaks your stance and compromises your ability to take a shot. If, on top of that, a fighter is loading up on a big right hand during the entry, further exposing the open side, the left hand counter becomes even more effective. So why do Ulberg and Reyes convince people to run into the left hand? Oversimplifying, the answer is that they are long, fast strikers who can score and damage from distance without compromising their stance. And they are patient. opponents eventually grow frustrated, whether it is because the damage is piling up, they feel they're down on the scorecards, or they just want to land cleanly. And when they finally make that big move, the extra step forward to close the distance and uncork the big right hand, that's when the kill shot lands. Ulberg vs Reyes might come down to patience. Will either fighter give the other the big counter, or will it be decided by who can win the kickboxing match at range? Maybe Reyes even shows his wrestling in this one. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me, you can leave a super thanks here on YouTube, join the Patreon for exclusive content, or check out the merch store with original combat sports designs. Watch more videos here on the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.